Hi, my name is Aliyah Selah, and I wanted to talk to you about what everybody's talking about right now, which is Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and this trial that's kind of epic right now. And so I didn't really want to take sides, but I kept watching. And then I saw that there's a incredibly average YouTuber who in 2020 put out amazing amounts of dialogue between them that was taped on Amber's phone. And they were going to listen to their arguments and have her understand her issues with them or have her support her court case, one or the other. But nonetheless, you get to really understand the relationship so much more when you're not just getting clips like they give you in the trial. So I listened to it and I looked at their charts, and I have some insights here because I think that there's really something to be said for the fact that this was a couple, you know, who ended up in a love-hate relationship, but they really loved each other at the beginning and they had a very deep connection. So the things that I saw right away is that they both have Venus in Taurus. At 26 degrees, it's Johnny, and 25 degrees, it's Amber. And then Johnny also has his Mercury right there with both their Venuses. So he's able to really communicate in a very Venusian way. And having your Venus in the same sign as your loved one can really be wonderful because they have a way of knowing just what you want because it's what they want too. And I'm sure that they just was like had all the same taste with little things like books they read and things that they liked. I mean, they seemed so compatible just because their Venuses, what they want to receive, was the same thing. So when they were both giving to each other what each other wanted, it was a very, very good relationship with a lot of synchronicity, I'm sure, at the very beginning, an undeniable attraction. And that's, part of the whole thing that started them off, I'm pretty sure. But the truth is that Johnny needed to leave his family, his wife for, 14 years, and his kids. I don't know if they're still living at home, but it was a certain, you know, break that he had to make with them in order to include her in his life. And every time something happened that wasn't very good, he thought, oh my God, what did I do? How could I have made that mistake? So I think that amped up the energy for Amber Heard and him to have a relationship that was as deep because they have so many things going on with their relationship. It seems there was a lot of chaos, a lot of violence, drugs, and various things that escalated. So, we're all looking at that, trying to figure out what it is that's going on. But I think more important, it's important for us to see how it affects all of us watching this, because what's happened recently is that narcissistic and borderline um, cases have really come out in the open. Whereas before it was just a person who's like a mean girl at school, you would never say, well, they have borderline, personality disorder. You wouldn't say that. They were just a mean person at school who liked to harass other people, for fun. And now we have words like, sociopath and stuff. We have words for this when we never did before. And I think that what's happening is that there's a lot more name calling because we actually have names. But I think that beyond the name calling is what are we going to do with this kind of information and how is it going to help us to get along, which is really the whole point of why we're here. That's what our charts tell us. They tell us how we can get along when you compare them, two charts together. And that's what I'm doing with theirs. It's called a synergy method of looking at where the planets line up together. And it's going to be a little bit hard because I don't have the time for Amber. I just have her other information, the day and the place. But without the time, there's a lot of things you can't do, houses, and you can't do the moon if it moves very quickly. So we're going to do the best we can with Amber's chart, but we do have Johhny's chart, and it has been said that that is his actual time. And the thing I want to just tell everyone now is that please, if you have somebody that you're very serious about in a relationship, get your charts done. It's incredibly helpful to understand what the pitfalls might be, what the problems of communication might be, what the expectations are going to be connected to, and how you can understand that that person is not doing that just to hurt you more of the time. They're just being themselves. And as you can understand them, it's going to make it easier for the things that they do not to bug you, because that's just them being them. But then again, that can be taken to an extreme. And I think that's what we have here with Amber. I was listening to Incredibly Average's dialogue that they have, and she practically confesses and says things like, I'm not going to stop hitting you because you make me feel like I need to hit you, and that's what I'm going to do. She didn't say it in those words, but if you listen to what she's saying, it's, I get very angry when you leave me. When he's trying to avoid the confrontation. Therefore, you deserve my wrath because you made it worse by leaving. There's some very interesting things that she's saying, admitting to. I'm not interested in gossip, but when somebody starts confessing like that, you have to take them at their word and see that she's calling him a monster, and I'm looking at the charts. And I see that she has South Node and Pluto in Scorpio. And her whole generation, the millennials, all have Scorpio, Pluto, which is intense, very intense. But for her, she has it opposite her sun in Taurus with the North Node. So you have this incredible, sun in Taurus, just like the Mother Earth goddess, and then opposite Pluto, in Scorpio. And that is intense. It's like, they say that Scorpio energy does not have relationships, it takes prisoners. And I think that there's something there with this being a split personality issue where she just escalates into a Plutonian rage. And we hear that with what he has to say. We've heard it on the tapes. And it's pretty clear that other people have stepped forward. Her ex put a restraining order on her. So there's other people that feel that she has a rage issue. Well, what I started doing is I started looking, first of all, at the Mercury planet. That's how we communicate. And as we said, Johnny Depp has Mercury next to his Venus in Taurus. It's very earthy, grounded. But she has her planet of communication, Mercury, in Aries. And Aries is fire energy, and it's very much about impulsing and, fly out of the mouth without ever having given it too much thought. So I can see that just that alone tells me who's kind of instigating this. Not saying that he doesn't have his part in it, but who is really starting, initiating, especially the physical parts? And how does Johnny Depp handle that? Well, we find out that he mostly runs away. And how do we find out? Because she says so. You leave, you don't stay with the fight. You don't fight for me, for us. And that to me is a misunderstanding, because he even said at one point, well, if you spoke kinder, then I'd probably listen more. And I'm paraphrasing, but point is, it's pretty obvious that she thinks she's repairing the relationship by confronting him. But it's actually doing more damage. And that's what I call a fatal flaw. A lot of relationships turn into love-hate, and they can't do it without a fatal flaw. A fatal flaw is that you think the thing that you're doing helps, and it makes it worse. So that's what we have going on with that energy that happens between her sun energy that then kind of explodes with her Pluto in Scorpio energy. So, Sun in Taurus, and then she's got her Venus in Taurus, and so it's this beautiful energy that she has inside her. But she says that she wants to be able to be human. And by human, she means let it rip. And he says, well, I just shut down when you talk to me that way. And I need to go and wait till you cool down and we can actually talk. So he's making a lot of sense in all the tapes that I've heard, in his, various different comments that he's made on the stand. He always sounds a certain kind of like grounded, and that's all his earth energy, because he has, it's Pluto and Uranus. Pluto is this grounding energy, as I was saying before, with her Pluto in Scorpio. That's your root chakra, that's your fears, that's your community wounds, that's all the stuff that's like that really deep stuff that a lot of people don't want to deal with. But in a relationship, a good one, you're probably going to deal with it. And in a really good one, of course, it helps you to heal it. So he has his Pluto and Uranus, which is sudden energy, there in Virgo with his Mars. And that little trio, I believe, is the thing that he uses to catapult his characters into an amazing quantum ability that you get and understand as a unified force with that Mars energy going forward. That's what we want to give. Pluto is that deep underneath world, and then sudden changes, and boom, he just flies out with this, brilliant performances. So that's what I feel is a big part of his career, is that he has that there. Also, the Venus and Mercury in Taurus, probably how he communicates and gets along with a lot of people. He also has a very interesting thing between them, and that's Chiron, which is the planet of wounded healer, which we can relate to with him. He kind of has a wounded healer vibe, And I know that Amber came there wanting to help, and her Jupiter is in Pisces right on his Chiron, which is a wounded healer, and she was like, sign me up, I want to help. And so she did, in many ways, I'm sure, help with her Jupiter and Pisces, because she's at her 36, so she's at her third Jupiter return. And it's a really good time for her to focus on, her own inner healing as well. And so what ended up happening, interestingly enough, is that this Chiron is, with Jupiter in Pisces, it's square his sun. And a square is really like a square down, like, being forced to make actions happen that maybe you wouldn't make. So interestingly enough, in 2018, she was writing this, or as much as she wrote it, this article that is why they're in court right now. And she was writing it and refining it, and then released it in December of 2018. And that's when Neptune was on her Jupiter, like exact 13 degrees. Now, what does it mean when Neptune goes over your Jupiter? Well, it depends what your sign is in. In Pisces, it's very much, she felt she was being a martyr for this cause. And that Piscean energy of the Neptune gave her a vision of, yeah, I'm going to be this voice for women who are in domestically abusive relationships. And she really, drank the Kool-Aid, especially if she's the one who's doing a lot of the instigating with the physical violence between her and Johhny. But then to completely point the finger at Johhny and say that he's the one, and I know she didn't put his name in the article, but everyone knew who she was talking about, and it did have a devastating effect on his life. He lost the Pirates of the Caribbean, and he lost other film opportunities as well. His money situation is struggling. There's a lot of legal costs for all of this, and it's just not really very loving. But we know how Johhny got there, was that he sued the Sun, which is a tabloid that's in England, and what ended up happening was they turned him down, said, no, you lose. And actually, Amber was the one whose voice was against him, saying, yes, he is. Because they used the word wife beater, and she's like, yes, he is. And even though there was all this evidence against it, and his former wife came forward and former girlfriends came forward, everyone said, he is not violent. He was never violent when I was with him. And that wasn't enough. They didn't care. They said, no, we're siding with Amber, and they wouldn't even let him appeal. So that's why he ended up in court with Amber. Amber did several things that were really, really uncool. And I have to say that filing for divorce while Johnny Depp's mother had just died is just so out of taste, especially because he knows the history. And his mother was abusive, just like her father was. So you have these two enigmatic people fighting their fights from their past to each other. Now, to some degree, that's unconscious, and to another degree, it's actually conscious. It's like, I'm not going back there and being the victim again in that situation. And I believe that they're both survivors of it, not just, victims. But I think in this situation, Johhny could hurt her probably if he wanted to, but he kept saying, I'm leaving, I'm out of here, I don't want to do this, and we're going to find out more as things unfold. But just from seeing the charts, I see that Johhny has, Jupiter in Aries. So there you go. That's that same Aries energy as her Mercury. Although it's not close, it's going to be an Aries energy where he is always going to be the Jupiter in the communication realm. And that might feel kind of like, he's controlling a bit, but we don't know the details. Perhaps the roles that she was being offered would have been not good for an artist to develop with. Maybe they're just looking for a blonde, to be that, TNA in the screen, and Johhny called it and said, you don't want that project. Let's wait till the good one comes. And she takes it as, you're controlling my career. So we really don't know. There's a lot of things going on with, she has Mars and Neptune retrograde in Capricorn, which is where Johnny's moon is. And this is definitely a thing that is linking with his mother. Moon in Capricorn is a mother who was not really there oftentimes. It's kind of a sad person. And he's found a way to come out of it with his Gemini sun. He's able to play all these characters and do all these wonderful opportunities, whether he's making music or making movies. He keeps that Gemini, keeps him in the flow so that his moon in Capricorn doesn't really weigh him down as much. But between projects, he does kind of have some downtime. And that's really important. And his downtime was basically stressed out with her. So he didn't have that downtime. And I think that affected her and him. And I have to say one other thing that's incredibly important that no one is bringing up. It's both of them were on doctor drugs. These psychological drugs, opiates or whatever, take a Xanax, take a this or take a that. And how much did those drugs play a part in what happened with them? That's what I'm wondering. Because I think if they were eating really healthy and, doing healthy things, of course, then they wouldn't have a problem. But, I think that that really does skew things. And then to have her call him a drug addict when he was really addicted to doctor drugs that are prescribed, then, you know, it's not really that he's a drug addict, even though he was doing some drugs, and so was she. And I've known some drug addicts in my lifetime. I've helped a couple to be drug free, couple heroin addicts that nobody had any faith would ever change. And in both those cases, there were two things I did. I just witnessed them. I gave them complete, you know, um, support for their process and told them I knew that they could do it and I believed in them. But most important, I defended them to their families. So it's kind of this thing where I found that addiction, it's a certain personality, and rarely is an addicted person an aggressive person because they're putting themselves in a state of, you know, respite, so to speak. Whereas maybe a drinker might be more aggressive, some of them, but some of them get very docile and sleepy too when they drink. So my point is that if you are an aggressive person, you're going to be an aggressive person when you don't do drugs, when you do, and when you drink. It's basically an amplifier that is going to amplify that aggression. So it's very rare do I see a real drug addict who wants to hurt other people because they're choosing to hurt themselves, you know, to protect that other person perhaps, or to just not have to think about it or deal with it, you know. So I think that's a big part of what I'm seeing here, that she's blaming him for the drugs, that he turns into another person with his drugs, but really he falls asleep, he zones out, but he does not use the drugs for that, and drugs are not what's making him act out if he is in fact acting out. There's probably some aggressive things she's doing that maybe ask for it kind of thing. But then again, I'm not there. I don't know. I'm just bringing up the few things that I see in the chart here. And, you know, her Saturn is opposite almost his sun with Sag there. In Sag, you know, Saturn, that's really hard. And she's got Uranus there too. And Saturn, low vibrations, you know, Sagittarius is, I know what's up. I'm the one who's got the answer, the truth, whatever. So that makes it really hard when it's your Saturn, because you could maybe, I don't know anything, I can't make up my mind. That could be a reaction with Saturn. But oftentimes it's just, you know, I know everything type vibe. And when you have Uranus there too, in that Sag energy, it's, I know it's right. And it's amped up with that, you know, sudden bursts of, you know, fire that happens with that Sagittarius, Saturn and Uranus. So there's a lot of parts to this puzzle and lots of places where you see it could be an issue. I don't know Amber Heard's rising because we don't know her time, but Johnny Depp's, it's Leo. So he has a sun in Gemini, a moon in Capricorn, and a rising of Leo, which is really wonderful for a performer. And there's a good chance that since we don't know it, it's possible she might also have Leo rising, and that would give them even more symbiotic relationship type energy between them. So I think that there's a lot of things that were there, but that love relationship was weighed down with the burden of him having to leave his family for her, and her kind of having this wonderful meteoric rise, and then there's kind of a somewhat of a decline as she has to pick smart projects at this point. And Johnny Depp has just, you know, given us an amazing career and has more in him, I'm sure. But, you know, he's kind of at his second Saturn return now. So it's really time for him to culminate his life. And he does not want this to mark his life work. He wants to make sure that he is able to be cleared of something that he feels that he is in no way guilty of. And so I am really interested in seeing how this plays out. These are two people who had a lot of love and it turned into hate. And there's a lot of things in the chart that show how you can do that, but we always have a choice. So the fact that it ended up in that place, I feel that there's probable cause that the younger person is just being kind of immature here, thinking that in order to work out differences, you have to fight and scream and do these things because that's being human. So she gives herself the out, but gives him no out with dignity, and pretty much torched his career and affected his whole family with it. And, like I said, asked for a divorce just after his mother died. We heard that he was detoxing and she wouldn't give him the medicine he needed because he was in pain when she was supposed to. So even if she really loves him and wants to only give him good, there's something subconscious that keeps her from, being there for him. And to attack him to the level that she has publicly to the world, it really makes me wonder how much it's ambition for her career, because she's taking this moment to, play martyr, and we're going to see where it takes us. Now, Johhny is not guilt-free, but he is copped to most of what happened that he's part of. He's been very straightforward and say, yes, that was me. Yep. And his, texts that were violent and stuff like that, that's not the same as actually calling the police and getting a restraining order on somebody who isn't even in town, so that it, makes your case look good. Because it sounds to me like she was building her case when she was videotaping, audio taping their conversations and stuff, that she was already building her case. But we don't know that. She said she was doing it to help their relationship, and we won't know. But what I'm concerned with is, can we just learn from this so that we can grow more towards understanding love-hate relationships and how bully behavior really hurts the bully the most? They don't realize it because they think that they have to do that to get things done, like she thinks it's helping their relationship. So that's what I have to say on this beautiful take on this relationship. I pray for Johhny and his family. I pray for Amber and her family. And I pray that they come to some kind of a resolution that sits with both of their souls so that they can move on and, make some films and go on to better things in their lives. Thank you so much for watching. You have a good one. Peace.